In the mid-19th century, the city of Niss stood as a vital pulse point of the Ottoman Empire's European frontier. Known as the Gateway to the West, it was a mosaic of strategic fortifications and bustling civilian life. Munir, a diligent land registrar and surveyor, spent his days documenting the evolving geography of the Sanjak. His ledgers were more than just tax records. They were a topographical biography of a city at a crossroads. From the heights of the Niss fortress, he observed the convergence of military precision and the organic expansion of the Turkish quarters, where the minarets of the Bali Beg Mosque pierced the morning mist. While Munir recorded the physical landscape, Esma sought to shape the intellectual one. As a teacher in the newly established schools following the Tanzimat reforms, she represented a generation caught between tradition and modernization. The Niss of her era was undergoing a cultural shift, where the old Mahalle system was beginning to integrate with broader European influences. Esma's classroom was a sanctuary of literacy, where she taught the daughters of merchants and craftsmen. She believed that the stability of their community depended not on the thickness of the city walls, but on the depth of its collective knowledge. The heart of social interaction was the stone bridge over the Nisava River. It was here that Munir and Esma often crossed paths, exchanging news about the city's rapid development under the governorship of Midhat Pasha. The river was the city's lifeblood, powering mills and providing a scenic backdrop for the wooden konaks that lined its banks. They discussed the new telegraph lines and the rumors of a railway that would eventually connect Niss to the distant capitals of Istanbul and Vienna. For them, the bridge was a symbol of transition, spanning both the water and the shifting eras of their lives. The Great Bazaar of Niss was a sensory explosion, a place where the fragrance of roasted coffee mingled with the metallic tang of the blacksmith's forge. Munir spent many afternoons here, verifying the titles of the shops that formed the economic backbone of the Turkish community. He met with Halim, a prominent merchant whose family had traded silk for generations. Together, they reviewed the Esnaf Guild records, ensuring that the marketplace remained a regulated and prosperous hub. The bazaar was a testament to the Pax Ottomana, where trade created a functional harmony among the city's diverse inhabitants. Domestic life in the Turkish quarters was centered around the, quote, hayat, or the inner courtyard. Esma's home was a masterclass in Ottoman aesthetics, featuring intricate woodwork and low, sedir seating. Here, she spent her evenings engaged in the traditional art of embroidery, a skill passed down through generations. Each stitch was a narrative of their heritage, a quiet defiance against the encroaching uncertainty of the Balkan political landscape. For Esma, these private spaces were where the true spirit of Niss resided, in the hospitality of a coffee service and the whispered stories of ancestors who had built the city. The administrative reforms of the 1860s brought a new sense of order to the Sanjak of Niss. Munir was tasked with implementing the new vilayet system, which aimed to decentralize power and improve local governance. He worked late into the night at the government house, or Hukumet Konagi, drafting reports on infrastructure projects. The introduction of modern hospitals and printing presses signaled a golden age of provincial administration. Munir felt a sense of pride as he documented the construction of the new roads that made the journey to Sofia and Belgrade safer for travelers and merchants alike. Education remained the cornerstone of Esma's mission. She often took her most promising students to the local library, an institution that housed both sacred texts and modern scientific treatises. In one particular session, she sat with a young student named Elif, explaining the importance of preserving their linguistic and cultural identity through the written word. Esma knew that the political maps were being redrawn by powers far beyond their valley, and she felt a sense of urgency to ensure that the next generation was prepared for whatever change the horizon held. By the late 1870s, the atmosphere in Niss grew heavy with the shadow of the Great Eastern Crisis. The borderland identity that had once been the city's strength now made it a target of geopolitical ambition. Munir and Esma met one evening on a hill overlooking the city as the sun dipped below the horizon. They watched the flickering lights of the town, realizing that the era they had meticulously recorded and nurtured was coming to a tumultuous end. The sound of distant artillery was a grim reminder that the centuries-old Ottoman presence in the region was facing its ultimate test. As the conflict intensified, the focus shifted from development to preservation. Munir spent his final days in the registry office not surveying new lands, but packing centuries of records into heavy wooden crates. He worked with a frantic precision, determined that the history of the Turkish people in Niss would not be erased by the fires of war. He understood that while they might lose their physical hold on the city, the archival memory of their mosques, schools, and homes would remain an indelible part of the region's complex heritage. The legacy of Ottoman Niss lives on in the architectural echoes and the cultural DNA of the modern city. While the political borders shifted irrevocably after 1878, the stories of people like Munir and Esma remain as a documentary of a vanished world. Today, the fortress still stands, its stones a silent witness to the transition from a frontier stronghold to a modern urban center. The spirit of the Turkish Niss resides in the historical accounts that survived, reminding us that every city is a palimpsest of the lives that once defined its streets and the resilience of those who call it home.